Good morning and good afternoon. Welcome to the day after Christmas edition of Digital Shop Talk Radio. Today I'm here with Bruce Nation from Westlake Independent. We're going to be talking about going back to the basics. So for all of you guys out there looking for your New Year's resolution, this is probably where you should start. And just like any, your favorite football team, basketball team, whatever it is, when they're going for the championship, they're drilling the fundamentals, right? You can't do the advanced plays if you can't do the basics, and that's what we're going to be talking about with Bruce Nation today. Bruce is a mastermind, ATI shop, been in business. Well, gosh, let me just bring you in, Bruce. How long have you been doing what you do? Welcome to Digital Shop Talk Radio, buddy.
Well, last month I had my 31st anniversary in business.
There you go.
Actually, this month. It's not quite last month yet.
Congratulations.
Almost. I've been doing it a long time, and over the years, you start trying to do different things and try all kinds of things. Oh, I can't even think of all the things I've tried over the years. Some worked, some didn't work, but eventually we always get back to the basics.
Isn't that the thing?
You just get back to, how much do we charge for this part? Well, let's look at the basics. Let's look at our matrix. Let's look at how much gross profit do we need. Let's get to that.
And so what does that look like from an operational perspective? I mean, do you have a regular routine where you pull some reports and you look at the fundamentals, and then maybe in your team meetings you address that? How do you make sure that you've got the fundamentals ingrained?
Well, I run my own. I run my own little report that I have. I have an operations manager here that develops this report for me, and I go over this report with a coach, my ATI coach, every week. And even if I don't go over it with him, I go over it, and it gives me by service advisor and by tech, both by tech what their productivity is, and by service advisor how many cars they rode, what's their average repair order, and what's their parts margin. Labor margin, I think that's something I look at for the shop as a whole. If you get ARO and you get parts margin, labor margin usually falls in. But at least that's how I feel about it. But I look at these numbers every week without fail, develop their true exact, they're very accurate. And with that, I know if there's a problem, I talk to them as quickly as possible. If you let something go a month, that's way too long.
Yeah. It's leaking all over the living room floor.
That's right.
Time to turn off the faucet. So what do you do?
Right.
You talk to them, but is there something specific? I mean, when it comes to margins and stuff, I mean, that's, a lot of times that's a case by case. So how do you set a best practice or a policy in place? And then what's the next step? You talk to them. If there's no, if it's not fixing itself, then what?
Well, I set a goal for them. Each one has a goal. Yeah. They have a goal for, let's look at parts margin. Okay, they have a goal for parts margin. And if they don't hit that goal, I audit their repair orders and see what they did. I don't mess around. I see what happened here. Maybe it's okay. Maybe they sold 3 transmissions.
Yeah.
That had lower margins.
Yeah.
Higher dollars, lower margins. If that's the case, I talk to them about it and say, hey, this is what happened. At least they know what happened. But they get the same numbers I get. That report doesn't just go to me, it goes to them too. They know. As far as setting something in place to get parts margin, you give them a matrix to follow. You show them what your process is. You've got 2 screens. You can look up multiple suppliers on parts, try to get the best deal. A lot of times you make money on a part when you buy the part. A lot of times that's where it's at. Same thing as somebody told me a long time ago, used car business, that you make money when you buy the car. That's where the profit is. When you buy the car, that's where it is. If you buy it right, you'll make money on it.
Yep.
Well, same with parts. If you buy them right, you'll make money on it. So we got a process. You have to check three suppliers on anything I don't have in stock or anything that's not just obvious where I have a specific spot that gives me the deepest discount and I know it. We hit three different suppliers on it.
So then what's the common breakdown that you see when that instance occurs? Is it I just didn't follow protocol, I was super busy, and so I didn't do my price comparisons?
I'll give you an example. Had one guy that was just ordering kits for timing belts. Instead of looking at the individual part, they would order it as a kit.
The whole kit, yeah.
They didn't realize that if you bought that as an individual, if you bought an individual part, you paid less for it. The supplier is charging a premium because they put it into a kit and you don't have to look it up.
Yep.
So I pointed this out to them. And you know, when you buy it as a kit, they were pricing it as a kit.
Mm-hmm.
So now you've got a $250 part that you're matrixing rather than you know, five $50 parts.
Yep.
So look what that does to a margin. That's just an example.
Yeah, and so that's a great example, right? Because that's really the next level of detail.
Yes.
You know, and that's where you have to go to be on top of your game, right? To make sure that, you know, that's what a football coach would do, right? A football coach is gonna still time you when you're running the 40. He's just not gonna ignore it because you're out there running, right? And it looks like you're running hard.
That's right.
He's gonna look at the data. And that's what
exactly
you
right.
got to drill down and make sure that it makes sense.
Exactly.
That's great, Bruce. I'm sure that's going to help a lot of folks, right? Just even that insight. That's great for
you got to start by watching it. You know, you start by watching it. You start by measuring it and measuring it often. Like I said, if you let some guy go with a low parts margin for 3 weeks and he's writing 20 cars a week, you think about how much money you lost on a 10% or 5% drop. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it adds up.
You know, that's a hell of a nice vacation.
It adds up. You could have got 2 more Christmas presents yesterday.
That's right.
So, so what about for the techs? How do you make sure? What are you doing to make sure that the techs are following the basics? And you know, and what about when you get the turnovers? How do you get the fundamentals ramped up into a new hire?
Well, it takes a while on a new hire. I'll admit that I've been through a lot lately with new hires, and it is a struggle to get a new hire up and running. AutoVitals helps a lot with that because, I mean, let's face it, in the past, if you got a new hire, trying to get that guy to do the inspection that you want him to do, and knowing whether he did it, you know, was really difficult. The only way you found out he wasn't checking brakes correctly is when a customer came back, you know, with the brakes grinding after a service, or something like that. Now AutoVitals makes it glaringly obvious if they're not following your process on an inspection. It's right in front of you. There's no way to skip anything.
No place to hide.
No place to hide. That's exactly right.
Cameras.
Now, and one of the things I found is that in your inspection, you want certain photographs. Yeah. And everything all through my inspection, I have on the inspection line, photo required. So I don't get an inspection back that doesn't have a photograph of a belt, for example. Yeah. Because it says photo required right there. If they don't take a photo, you have to go back and say, what's happening here? You know, now after a little bit, they just memorize all of it. They just know.
Yep, it becomes a habit. No, it is great. Yeah, it's great to have a standardized protocol like that because, like you said, it helps a brand new guy come in and get right into the groove.
Yeah, that was one thing I looked at whenever I was looking into AutoVitals was that this will absolutely make our inspections uniform.
Yeah.
And they are.
No, that's fantastic. So what other things from a fundamentals perspective do you like to see from your technicians? I mean, what are kind of, you had some pretty specific key KPIs, key performance indicators for your service writers. What KPIs are you looking at for your techs?
Well, I get a report that measures hours on the floor, hours produced. And I like to see, each person has their own, if I got a general service guy, I have a certain number I like to see for that guy. So I watch him every week, and I need to see him progressing. I need to see it getting better. Over month, I need to see him looking better.
Yeah.
I get somebody new in. At first, they don't. At first it's a struggle for them to get used to auto vitals, to get used to where everything is in the shop, and it takes a little bit. But you got to see progress with these people. And I'm going through it right now with electrical short. Not electrical short, but a draw on a battery. And what should the process be in the shop to find that? You think you hire these guys that really should know what they're doing, but you give them something where the battery goes dead overnight and they're stuck. So you have to have a process, so you got to go through your stuff and say, hey, this is the problem it's got. Here's your process. Follow it. Yeah. And if you don't follow the process and you lose money here, I'm sorry, I can't help you.
Yeah.
But in California, there's not much flat rate here anyway. There's some incentives, but not really flat rate.
Yeah, that's for sure. So from that perspective, when you're seeing your guys' productivity falling off, does it end up being something like that? They're chasing, they're trying to troubleshoot some electrical thing, and so.
Well, it looks like it's the same as with the service advisor. You have to audit the tickets. Yeah. You got to look at, okay, what cars did he work on, and what happened here. So I get it day by day. What did he flag each day? And I'll look for the load day, and then I'll start with those tickets. And if I don't find it there, I'll go to the day before and the day after to see what he started on and finished on that day or something like that. But I'll find it. And if it's just generally being slow, then you got to talk to him and tell him that there's no future there. There's no future here for that.
Yeah.
With this guy, you need to, if you do well here, you make money. You make good money. I pay techs well if they perform, and if they don't perform, not so well. And you just got to talk to them about, don't you want something more for you, for your family? Isn't there something you want? Come on, man, motivate yourself here. How can we do this?
Yeah. Now Westlake Independent has a high bar. They're not some run-of-the-mill ordinary shop. You got to step up if you want to wear that shirt.
I gotta know what you're doing. I gotta see what you're doing. And the way you do that is really basic information. You can pull it from your point of sale, but your point of sale will never tell you what it is.
Yeah. Now you got to look at the application of it, right?
Yeah.
And you got to chase it down. And so that's great. So really, it goes to your discipline, right? Is having a regular process of monitoring those top line KPIs that you use to see what's happening there, and do that on a regular basis. Because, and it's, and a brilliant point to what you said, Bruce, is that if you beat last month, from a fundamentals perspective, you know what that equals? It equals your business is growing. If you're not beating last month from a performance perspective, you're probably not growing.
That's correct. You have to compare. It gets a little more complicated than that. You really need to compare time periods from the prior year.
Sure.
You also need to look at that.
Sure. The trend is your friend, right?
That's right.
And in the business control panel, it makes it really, convenient to be able to go in there and set your timelines and really pull over, big trends. And you see your seasonality in there and stuff like that, which really helps you to plan, because that's ultimately what you need to do is have a plan, write it down, and then monitor that you're on plan.
Right. So I'll tell you, on the business control panel, the one thing that I find the most interesting on that is that when you look at the time that the review time from the customer and average repair order, those two things are absolutely in lockstep. Yeah. The longer they look at it, the more they spend. So right now I'm going through it where we're comparing, and I made it a rule. I make a rule and people follow it.
Sure.
And now I'm making them edit every photo, put a note with every photo with what's broken, what we need to fix, and why we need to fix it. What's the benefit of fixing it on everything that needs immediate attention, everything in the red section on my inspection.
Has to have a note. Yep.
Okay, now we're going to compare now and see what our inspection review time is. We're going to see if that average goes up, and with that should go up the average repair order.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm hoping for. It's a good test.
Yeah, no, that's the secret sauce, right?
Right.
And it can't just be fluffy stuff, right? It's got to be things in there that's going to get the motor, you get your customer to stop and consume it, right? They're going to
right.
And so it's educational information, and
right.
Yeah, exactly that. It's amazing in its simplicity. If
yes.
you focus on getting them to pay attention and consume the information, they approve more work. It's like
it moves these things to a higher priority in their life.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it does. You move this to something they don't understand, mm-hmm. and that they're reluctant to take part in, even, and into something that they do understand, and or understand a little bit, and it makes them want it.
Yeah, and if you make it easy, right? That's the other side of it. Then they'll take action. I was listening in on the radio on the drive in this morning, and they were talking about how there was a comparison between how you structure. In this case, it was about asking for reviews, how you structure the request. If you structure it in a negative kind of way, was there any problem with your visit? You're going to get more negative results. If you structure it in a positive way, you're going to get more positive results. And so if you, even in your terminology in those notes, and one thing you can do is you can notes. You can have notes in a template, right? Because you're going to write the same stuff if there's a bald tire. You can then go in and edit that can note to personalize it for this individual. And it just saves time, right? So then when it gets done more, it becomes less excuses for not getting it done. Yes. Well, if you structure that note for a positive result we can fix this easily for you by doing this, approving this job,
right?
You're going to get higher job approval, right? It's
okay.
It's appealing to the desire for education, and then the desire to make it super simple where I just click a couple buttons or something like that and it's done for me. And then the decision that the consumer is going to make at this point is, do I want to put this thing off or do I just get it done? And that's the conversion that you're looking for, higher approval rate. And you're right. It's all driven by that motorist research time.
Yes. I mean, we've kind of put all our eggs in the inspection basket.
Yeah.
And if you don't do everything you can to maximize the result of that, you're not writing up cars that break. You're writing up cars that you want to inspect.
Yep.
And so if you're not maximizing that, then you're really missing it. You really need to do what you can to maximize what you sell from an inspection, what the motorist wants to do, what they should do, and what they authorize.
Yeah. And have a plan, right?
Yeah.
If it's not approved today, or it's just not, the right timing for whatever that recommendation is, they don't leave without knowing when the next visit is. It's committed to.
Yes.
It's a big peace of mind for your customer when they say, okay, there's some things that I need to do on my car, but I'm going to get the stuff done here, and I've already have a plan and an appointment for the rest of it, and now I can just forget about it and I'm not worried, right?
Right.
Bruce told me my car's safe. I'm going to keep driving it to work.
So I give more money to Bruce.
So I give money to give it to Bruce. I like those apples. So let's talk a little bit, because you've got to you have to stick to the fundamentals at the counter. You have to stick to the fundamentals in the back shop, but you also have to stick to the fundamentals in the office. How do you make sure as an owner that you're brushing up on your fundamentals from an ownership perspective?
No, that's a little harder because my place is really in the shop and behind the counter. I don't know. I mean, the one thing I have been able to automate is my reports and all that. I have an operations manager that does a great job. We have meetings, we talk about it. I look at the numbers. I look at my gross profit numbers every single week. I look at it very, very closely. But that's really what I look at. You know, I got somebody else watching the bank account. I got somebody else paying the bills, and so on. So what do you?
Well, they have goals too, right? And so
yes, they do.
KPIs too.
They have requirements.
Yeah, that you have to make sure that they're sticking to. But what about from, like, you know, you'd said, you know, earlier that, you know, you've seen it all, right? You've tried it all. You know, from a making sure that your business is having the opportunity, right? There's enough customers coming in the door, whether it's from a marketing perspective or just a referral perspective or whatever it is. How do you make sure that you've got kind of your ear to the ground when it comes to the market changes, right?
Yeah.
And what folks are responding to, and making sure that you are doing what you need to do to keep the base full?
Well, I'm a member of a 20 group, Mastermind 20 group with ATI. And one of the things that we get in that 20 group is we get market projections, which right now are very, very strong. And we're going to continue to be strong for quite some time. You know, whenever we see a recession coming, you know, we don't know how deep it's going to be maybe, but we see that it's the time for that cycle in our economy to happen. ATI is on it, and they're very, very accurate, and they get their information. They've told me, I don't remember who, I just get it from them. And they're very accurate. And
so that's all that matters. Right?
You know, they're telling us, you know, hey, it's time to gear up. You know, it's time to gear up, or it's time to, you know, it's time to pull back a little bit. We're going to see, you know, you're going to need to be a little more aggressive in your marketing at this time to pull in more market share, because the market's going to shrink a little bit for a while. You know, when I give you some perfect examples of that. After 9/11, George Bush came on and told everybody to go buy a new car.
Yeah, I remember.
Okay, that hurt.
Yeah, I bet it did.
I think that hurt the whole country when it came to auto repair.
Yeah.
We had a big earthquake here in '94 in Southern California.
Yeah.
And we were closed a few days, and not much damage here. A lot of people's houses had a lot of damage and so on. But it pumped so much money into the area from FEMA and from insurance companies that a lot of people bought new cars.
Yes.
A lot of people bought new cars. You tell them, hey, your car needs $1,500 or $2,000 worth of work. Oh, okay. Trade it in.
Yep.
You know, you try to educate your customer to show them that economically that's not really what's in theirs and their family's best interest. But
that's a hard sell.
You still need to be watching the economy. You need to know when that type of thinking is coming.
Yeah, because that's a hard sell. And then and the warranties are getting longer, and, you know, it's you know, you really got to get them on the maintenance value. You know, those dealers are selling these free oil change packages now, or, you know, they're really trying to position themselves to keep them from even considering your business.
Now, those really bothered me for a while. But then you think about it. Let's look at the first 2 years of a car's life. Most of what we get in the first 2 years of a car's life is loss leader stuff.
Yeah.
You might get you might get a cabin filter and an air filter.
Yeah.
Maybe a trans service at about
something's clunking or squeaking, and you're around the corner from the house. They just want
you're not going to get the real, you know, cars don't need brakes. They probably don't need a transmission flush yet. They don't need brake fluid yet. There's all kinds of things that they just don't need through that free maintenance period.
Yeah.
The manufacturers know that. they know that when they sell it to you, that they're just not going to give them much. And at the end of it, there's a lot of deferred maintenance. And that's really, now they've got a customer that's been going to the dealer. They've been, their maintenance has just been free. And now that they're end of a 2-year or 30-month or whatever the mileage is, they get to the end of that, and then dealer's asking them for $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they call us. That's when they get to the aftermarket right there.
Yeah.
That's when they say, oh no, there's got to be a cheaper way. Their service has been okay, but I don't want to spend that money. Or maybe their service really hasn't been that good.
Yeah. That's where you got to knock their socks off, right?
That's another thing. This dealers, they know you're a captive audience. You're coming here no matter what, because it's free. So maybe they don't treat you so well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I've had the free oil change things where I didn't go. I went in and paid to the guy. I take my
yeah.
car,
There's people that just don't do it.
just because I've been going to him, and and I didn't, it's not like I paid extra for the oil package thing. It was just, it was one way or the other. It was coming, and
Yeah.
I'm taking it where I go. But that's me, and I know a lot of people look to take advantage of those dealer programs like that. And so really, it's like you said, once you get them in the door, you really have to show a difference between you and the dealership, right? How do you do that in your shop? And I think a lot of it's personalized, right?
I'm going to tell you the biggest thing I have right now is the inspection.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing I have is the inspection. You think about the experience that this customer's had with the dealership. They've been there. The dealer has basically told them everything's okay with your car, right? Or maybe they told them you need a cabin filter, or you need an air filter, your transmission, whatever it is that they told them. They just had to take their word for it.
Mm-hmm.
Now they come to us, and we do a service that's, frankly, it's a little bit more than the dealership.
Yeah.
For that B service on a Honda.
Yeah.
We're maybe $10 or $15 more. But when they see the inspection, when they get that inspection in their email and they go over it and they see, if the car doesn't need anything, let's say it only needs a couple of little things, at 2 years, it needs a transmission service and an air filter. They know that they need that stuff. They know it because they see the photograph of it. They've never had that experience anywhere else. And that knocks the, that and the other things like, having a nice clean office, a welcoming attitude when they get there, place to park their car, which I struggle with sometimes, but
you sure do.
Yeah.
Well, and getting
place to park their car and getting their car back to them on time, setting their expectation, but these are all things that a lot of dealers just don't provide. They don't provide maybe you got a clear place to drive your car up to the driveway where the service advisor meets you. But then after that, you don't know what kind of attitude he's going to have. You don't really have a receptionist that meets them, greets them, as they're walking into an office. You got a service advisor meeting them at the car, maybe throwing a hat up on top of it, and they're going, well, they're just, they're a little startled. They get out of the car and they don't know what to think. Here's my beautiful car, and some guy just threw this hard plastic hat up on the roof. It's off-putting.
Yes.
You need to not be that way.
No. Yeah, and it's nice.
It's a different experience.
Yeah, it's a nice experience at your shop because you're usually the first person that the folks meet.
Well, I have a rule. I have an office assistant in there. It's a receptionist position. She does a lot of things. She collects money and puts the cars onto the route. She does a lot of things for us. But and it's a complicated position that has a lot of documented processes that go with it. But one of the rules that she has is that when somebody enters that office, she has to greet them and ask them their name within 5 seconds.
Wow, yeah.
You got 5 seconds to greet them. If you're on the phone with somebody, you at least need to make eye contact, make some sort of hand gesture, let them know that you'll be right with them, and with a smile. And then you've got to ask their name so that everybody in the office hears their name. Now, the reason for that is that when a customer comes in, they've been there before, and I recognize them. I see who they are. I see that I might even remember what kind of car they drive, but I don't remember their name.
Mm.
And this guy spent thousands of dollars with me. I really should remember his name.
Yes, you should.
Right. So if she asks him his name and he tells her, then I now know what his name is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So does everybody else there, and that changes the experience a little bit.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and another nice thing about speaking about Auto Vitals is that it's nice for your existing customers, because if you do see their vehicle as they pull in, and then you just bring that up, you can have a picture of the vehicle and then the customer's name right there, and you're able to greet them at the counter as they come.
Well, I'll admit that I need to get the photos of the customer's vehicle on their page, so when I bring it up, it's there. But
one of those fundamentals.
One of those fundamentals, exactly right. I've talked to Bill Connor. He's my coach here.
Oh boy, yeah,
I've talked to him about it, but I haven't done it.
Bill's listening right now. He's probably already dialing you up.
Yeah, probably.
No, it's great, Bruce, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing some of that wisdom, from a guy who's, like you said, been there and done that. And even, if you want to get to this level, that's exactly what you do, is you drill the fundamentals. You make sure you're on top of the basics in your business, and then good stuff happens. If you don't, you get, a lot of holes to fill. Right. Next week, we're going to be on Thursday again because of the new year. So tune in Thursday. Dustin, who do we got Thursday?
Oh, we got an awesome guest. We got Doug Brackett
nice.
calling us from up north in Canada. Yeah, he's actually in the middle of the woods right now. So that's why he's not joining us this week. But he's going to be talking about technological solutions to service advising problems. He's kind of doing a facelift on on his shop right now, and kind of going through some processes and something he's really passionate about. He's really excited about it, and everybody listening should be really excited about it too, because he's got a lot to say.
Thanks, buddy. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. So same time next Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Until then, get out there, make some money, enjoy the weekend. Happy New Year to everybody. Really appreciate everybody's support and viewership, and hopefully you're taking away stuff that's helping you to improve your business, coming from guys like Bruce Nation. Thanks again, Bruce. Have a great rest of the week.
You're welcome. Happy New Year.
Yeah.
One last thing about fundamentals: write them down and make sure everybody knows them.
That's right. Post them on the wall.
That's
Spray
right.
paint. All right. Thanks.
Thanks, guys.